Welcome back to the Jade Histories, Episode 3, Forbidden Knowledge. Forbidden Knowledge released August 1996, and the frame had sort of the rust-colored swirls around the outside as its defining trait. It was the second expansion of the Legend of the Five Rings collectible card game, and was the first set to only be found in booster pack form. Excuse me. It stayed that way until Gates of Chaos, one of the dual bug sets at the end of Emperor and beginning of Ivory. And from there on out, all sets were booster pack only, except for the core sets. Some information from the promotional flyers that were given out for this. The Black Scrolls have been opened and read. The Shugenja of the Empire now wield awesome new powers, but have begun to pay a terrible price. The saga of Rokugan continues. Those who seek mastery of the elemental rings have unearthed artifacts of incredible potency long lost to the Empire. Kakita Toshimoko takes his place as the Emerald Champion, but keeps a wary eye on Bayoshi Kachiko. Awesome Oni, empowered with the raw force of the five elements, stalk the battlefields of Rokugan. The growing power of those tainted by the Shadowlands and the corrupting influence of the Black Scrolls demonstrate that some knowledge is best left undiscovered. The magical powers of the new ritual spellcasting elevates the abilities of Shugenja to new levels. A great evil force seems to taint each incantation, bringing corruption of the body and spirit to those who use them. Though the dynasty has been destroyed, the name of the last Hantai Emperor commands respect throughout the Empire. The Crane Clan Aijutsu Master now wears an ancient emerald armor and stands as the last hope for justice amidst the chaos. Executed for betraying the Hantai dynasty, Baishi Shoju has been almost forgotten by the other clans in their struggle to seize the Emerald Throne. Using a newly discovered ritual inscribed on a black scroll, his spirit may soon be torn from its eternal slumber. This second part was found on the Forbidden Knowledge booster box. The saga of Rokugan began with the fall of the Hantai dynasty. Lingering on the edge of death, the emperor sought an honorable samurai to unify the empire and become the imperial heir. In the first expansion, Shadowlands, the empire was further beset by hordes of monstrous creatures, undead monstrosities, and the corruption of the Black Scrolls. The saga continues with Forbidden Knowledge. The clans have gained access to extremely powerful new spells known as rituals, which require multiple Shugenja to act in concert while the ritual is invoked. The Crane Clan Aijutsu Master has become the new Emerald Champion, thwarting one of Bayoshi Kachiko's numerous plots. On the battlefields, the fallen Lion Champion, Totori, leads a growing army of stalwart warriors against the awesome armies of the Crab. The Dragon Clan are demoralized when they learn that their ancient sword has been shattered, and they have not seen Togashi Yukune, their champion, in many weeks. The Naga grow steadily in force as more of their number awaken and join the forces opposing the great evil from the Shadowlands. The intrigues at the imperial court grow ever more complex as each clan vies to reign supreme. But the elemental masters of the Phoenix, who bear the taint of corruption from their researches, know that the worst is yet to come. So as far as cards and story points from this set, for the longest time, this was the first booster set as the first oldest that I ever opened. I traded a Gauntlet of Might from Unlimited for a completely unopened box of Forbidden Knowledge. Now, at the time, that was actually a really good trade. But I was very interested in playing L5R and getting deeper into the game. And let's just say the gentleman that I traded with was distraught when I pulled all the Black Scrolls, all of the elemental weapons. He was pretty, he's pretty bummed. As far as story points, so a Black Scroll is opened. So as more of the Black Scrolls are opened, the stronger the essence of fooling takes over the body of Hantai the 39th. Whether it's the Scorpion opening a scroll or the Phoenix, it doesn't matter. This was a card that was designed to really hurt Phoenix-based decks because a lot of them were spell-based. You know, they were mostly Shugenja. Their first stronghold was, again, Shugenja based. So this could be pretty evil against them. They could lose 2-3 chi and be dead. Alright, I'm going to talk about each Black Scroll individually in this, rather than as a group like I did with the other ones. So a Terrible Oath was one that did see play. This bow and destroy the Shugenja, this spell, and one samurai you control. All personalities currently in play. All of your personalities currently in play gain +2 force, -1 chi, and Shadowlands. You may not win through an honor victory. So as I recall, this is the spell that was cast that killed Hidesukune and attached him to the Terrible Standard of Fooling. I'm not 100% sure on that. That's just what I can remember. But it was a very powerful spell if you actually had a Samurai and Shugenja in your deck. So this was an interesting character. Akoto Godigo. He actually has a high honor requirement, but he is Shadowlands. And you have to lose 2 honor for him. Now you notice there is a trait there to Turi's army. That's another faction that's coming up, which we currently have not seen yet. But anyway, he got killed and resurrected by the Shadowlands, but his heart is still Lion, and he wishes to make amends for his treachery so many years ago. This piece of artwork is done by Rob Alexander. You'll notice a lot of the artwork and artists from back in the day. There's a lot of tie-ins to early Magic the Gathering artwork. They ran in the same circles and did a lot of work together. So this dude is basically anti-Shadowlands, and sort of neat that they understood that they did wrong and needed to correct that. An untold cost. So this was another meta card that was designed for anybody that wanted to use the Black Scrolls. Know that this could come up at any time and really mess with their plans. So anybody that got a corruption token got 2 additional, and then anybody else that was Shadowlands got a -1 corruption token. Alright, now there's a cycle of these. I didn't group them together this time, but there's the Armor of Earth, the Gunnison of Water. Let's see. Katana of Fire, the Yari of Air, and I didn't highlight the other one on my list, Mempo of the Void. So each of these were unique elemental items. They gave +1 force, +2 chi, had a gold cost of 8 or 9. But if you controlled the matching ring, the gold cost was reduced to 0, and you got +2 force, +1 chi additional. So all of the equipments would be +3 for 0 gold if you controlled the elemental, the ring that matched each of these. These were bonkers. The 2 that were used the most was the Armor of Earth and the Gunnison of Water. The Armor of Earth, you can cancel and negate the effects of any action that would move this unit out of this battle, out of the battle it was assigned to. And back in those days, this action was a repeatable action, which means you could do it any number of times per turn. Which basically meant, if I assigned here and I don't want to go home, I'm not going home. Period. And so, plus, later on, when there's a particular monk deck, you'll see this and the Gunnison of Water used to great effect in a monk beatdown deck in the future of the from where we're at. Let's just say I had a lot of fun playing with this set. I think the other one that got some use was Mempo of the Void, because you basically got to discard your hand and draw that many fate cards. Just really good. So this is Doji Shouju, the undead version. He had some really weird game text. He's loyal, which only joined the Scorpion clan. When he appears in your province, you put him in your discard pile, and he becomes dishonorably dead. Which means you can't play him from there. You have to do something else. So there's a black scroll that lets you resurrect him. But this is one of the weirder cards from the set because of... You literally can't bring him out normally. So, Beden's Pass. This is a strategic spot in the Empire where several clans have a path through these mountains. And basically whoever claims this pass basically is separating northern Rokugan from southern Rokugan. And this is the only way in or out. Henceforth, why you can't be moved into or out of battles here. It's a very tight fit. Very shortly, there's going to be a story, which I'm going to read the flavor text. The steep stone walls and the tight turns provided Turi the terrain he needed to overcome the superior forces of the Crab Clan army. So up shortly, there's going to be the first Learn to Play set. And it involves the Battle of Beden's Pass. And this is the battle specifically they're talking about. This is a Carl Frank artwork. Carl has some very famous cards that he did for the game, including I guess the one that you would mostly think of when you think of a Crane clan personality, both beautiful and deadly at the same time, in Time of the Void. Oh, one other thing. Regions. This is the first set to include regions. So, regions are basically, they interplay during the events phase, and they attach to the province that they are that are revealed in. If there's already a region in that province, then this one cannot be, the one in the province cannot be attached. Fairly simple. Some of you who may have played the FFG version have those face down cards that have abilities that have province strengths on them. Regions was sort of regions and or fortifications were sort of a combination precursor of what that idea was. But it made it feel more like a battlefield. So here we have another corrupt holding. This is Black Market. This is the only one of the group that didn't have the Shadowlands trait, but it did have an honor loss attached to it for using its ability. Trade routes produce 2 less gold, ports 1 less gold, bow and lose 1 honor, produce 2 gold, or 3 gold if you're a Crane clan. So all of these, these that simultaneously hurt other people's economy and help and are free for you and help your economy, even with the honor losses, weren't really enough to stop them from being seeing play. All right, Black Wind from the Soul. I always thought this one was was pretty powerful for a very long time. So this cost 10 gold. This was a ritual, which they talked about their spells that required multiple Shugenja. But you have to battle and destroy this Shugenja and as many other Shugenja you control. A combined chi greater than 20. So this is going to take 5 or 6 or 7 Shugenja. Destroy any one province, lose 5 honor. That's why it costs 10 gold and why you have to destroy so many Shugenja to get this done. It was a very powerful effect, but I think this one was actually costed correctly. Maybe a little too high, but destroying a province was... I think they kind of learned that Desperate Measures was too good. They kind of learned that Evil Feeds upon itself was too good at that point, and so was Oni no Akuma. So this one was actually better costed, but may have went too much to one side. So Crushing Attack, if you were a military deck, particularly a fast military deck in those days, this was, depending on your deck, this was as good as Deadly Ground. If you have twice as much force as the opponent, you basically resolve the battle. You end the battle and resolve it as it was. I loved playing this card. Your opponent's defenses were overrun, and this was a chef's kiss great card. Dealing with Shadow. The quote, "The darkest day is closer than they know." Yogo Jinzo. So this was an anti... if you're running a corrupt deck with a lot of Shadowlands personalities, this was sort of tech against them. Hey, you got 10 cards with Shadowlands trait in play and lose 20 honor. Sort of surprise. This is out of nowhere. Obviously, it wasn't effective against Yoko Jinzo's Horde / Shadowlands players, which we don't have to worry about just yet. We're getting there. But against anybody else, this was a interesting meta decision. Alright, Diversionary Tactics. So, obviously we had superior tactics in the Imperial Edition. Destroy terrain or move a unit from this battle to another. This was basically gave you an additional copy of a way to destroy terrains. Now there weren't a ton of decks that ran this, except for decks that had personalities with 2 or less chi they couldn't target, or if they needed additional copies of superior tactics so that they didn't get blown out by Deadly Ground or whatever else it might be. Alright, now we have Doji Kawanan. So Kawanan is the younger brother of Doji Hattori. As I think he's the younger brother. Of course, Hattori is the clan champion currently. Kawanan's rather blank here. But when he came back and saw the Crane lands burning to the ground, he decided that revenge was his best tactic, and he's actually a decent sized body for that era. 3, 4, 8 gold, 3 personal honor. Dragon Sword is broken. So this is the story that I told about in Shadowlands, where you saw Hitomi and Yakumo, the duel that they had. Yakumo breaks the ancestral sword of the dragon. This was another meta card that was designed after that. You can destroy any one ancestral item in play. Preludes to future sets. And that controller loses 8 honor. That's a huge honor loss, but destroying something of that caliber was a detriment to that kind of failure, if you will. Alright, Enlightenment. This was, at the time, the only way to get elemental rings from your discard pile back to your hand. Elemental rings during the first 9... Now, it might even be 12 years, the first half, through the end of Diamond Edition. Elemental rings, for you to get their effect, you'd have to, they'd have to be in play. So if you're stuck discarding one, you had to have a way to get it back in your hand. From Lotus Edition forward, rings had an ability that you could use by discarding them. And oddly enough, this card never saw reprint into any of the Lotus and future sets. I think that would have been actually a pretty good reprint to have. But in any event, during Clan Wars and Jade, this was the only way to get a ring back from the discard pile with a strategy. Another region that was used a lot was farmlands. Pay 2 gold and attach a 1-force follower to any personality you control. A cheap way to have protection on your personality. There's a bunch of these designs. Don't remember if there's any more in this set, but there are more in future sets. One that makes cavalry followers, one that makes Naga followers, one that makes ratlings. Those were some of the regions that were played quite heavily because they offered a cheap way of getting force and protecting your guys. Goblin Berserkers, I always think this artwork is quite funny. It doesn't have any dramatic stats, but basically this is a get out of jail free card. I'm losing this battle, or I'm winning by way too much. I'd like to have this guy at home to defend with. You could blow up the 0-force follower, 0-force 0 gold follower to send him home. Your fief. Yeah, they use some old terminology from Japan. This is the other elemental weapon that was quite powerful. Elemental battle. Bow this card to move this unit into a province from the one it's in, or to or from your fief. So, or to and from your home. So you can move it from one province to another, from where it's at to home, or home to the current battlefield. This one was crazy dumb. This is the terrain that did see a little bit of play. Higher ground. Insert Obi-Wan Anakin joke here. your ranged attacks have strength +1. Your opponents have strength -1. I used it quite a bit, but then again, I like shooting things with Mantis, or, well, with Yoritomo's Alliance, particularly my Wasp dudes. We have Aidi Daikoku. He's a unique, very cheap unicorn personality, and you can attach unique items to your unicorn guys for 3 less gold. Seems good. He's not doing much else for you. He's not cavalry or anything else, but gold reduction is a very good thing, and you can, since this is not a bow ability, it's a trait, can be really good. There's several other unique items in this set. Akoma Tsunari. So Tsunari was trained by Akoto Toturi, and Matsusuke believes that if anybody can beat Toturi, it's Tsunari. 11 gold was quite hefty for the Lion Clan because their stronghold only bows to produce 3 gold. However, I saw builds, particularly in Jade, the Jade arc, that wasn't quite so fast, that would play her. Not being able to play terrain cards was quite good. This is another Matthew D. Wilson artwork as well. Akomo Ujiki. So 2, 4, 10 gold, 4 personal honor. All Lion Clan personalities in this battle gain +2 force. Once per battle. This lets you employ a go wide strategy. As I recall, he didn't see a lot of play early because the blitz decks were too good, but he did see some play later on, after they went to the Extended Jade series. He was another lion that believed you follow the Emperor no matter what. So here we have another corrupted master, Uona, Master Vare, Shadowlands. I want to say that I don't remember, I want to say she opened the shape-shifting was the black scroll that she opened. But as each of them become corrupted by the black scrolls, most of them realized their mistake, save for one. This beautiful piece of artwork by Quentin Hoover, Kakita Toshimoko, the Emerald Champion, in the Emerald Armor. I think the 3 most iconic pieces of artwork that he had in L5R was Kakita Toshimoko Basic, Imperial Champion version, and Walking the Way. He's a 2/8 instead of a 1/7. He may attach the Emerald Armor without gold cost. Limited bow to challenge a dishonored personality to a duel that cannot be refused. Double chi, yeah. unless you cheat, you ain't beating this dude. And he probably had, I would think, the second most important story that I ever read in L5R, and I almost became a Crane player because of it. Look up at Kazunoshiro. Look up the story Private Lessons. He was such a badass. Katana of Fire. This was the fire ring card. So if the personality is going to be killed in a duel, you can destroy the sword instead and send this dude home. Douglas Schuler, another one of his pieces of art. Love how the sword lighting on the face and Mempo and Kubota. The Kuni Wastelands. Shadowlands cards reduced by one. Any Shadowlands cards being brought into play from this province has its gold cost reduced by 4, which was quite insane. This is Kuniyori. This is his experienced version, and you can see how his experiments with the Shadowlands and his opening of Black Scrolls has corrupted him. The Phoenix say knowledge has a price. One look at his shattered visage is all the proof you need. Lesser Oni. This one was the first card in the game that allowed you to put any number of this card in your deck. But if this card's destroyed in with an action or a battle, they gain additional honor. Most of the time, you didn't care. 1 force for 1 gold was pretty cheap. All right, so as the Crane are getting pummeled from all the attacks, whether it was from the Scorpion or otherwise, they are starting to have to spend money for protection, and the Mantis are that protection. I talked a little bit about that in the previous episode. 2 more followers in this, 3 more followers in this set. I'm sorry, just 2. You have Mantis Badoka. It's a force bonus. Basically, it's a tactician trait, except for you have to do with the top card of your deck. And Mantis Samurai, 3, 4, 7 gold. Can only requires 3 personal honor, which was quite high for those days. But if it's attached to a samurai, they get to straighten. This personality gets to straighten during both turns if they're bowed, so they can attack and defend. Matsu Toshiro, 2, 3, 6 gold, bow for fear 4. He was the only reason I've got him in this particular stack is because he was played in the Day of Thunder World Championship deck. There were a lot of personalities. I want to say you had Gohi, who was boxable. You had the 2/2 for 5 gold dude, that was boxable. I know you had Toshiro and a couple other personalities that were right at 6 gold, so that you only needed 1 additional holding to bring those guys into play. This is a Brian Snoddy artwork. Again, another famous magic artist. Here's the Mempo of the Void, the one that lets you discard and draw a number of cards equal to what you discarded. Alright, this was one of the other reasons I wanted to buy, or wanted that box of Forbidden Knowledge, was Merchant Caravans. So, it's a 0 gold cost holding. It doesn't produce any gold normally. You have to bow and discard a fate card, and it produces gold equal to the focus value. If you bow it and don't discard a card, it produces 0 gold. This card was a staple of a lot of decks, particularly a lot of decks that like to run Ring of the Void, because they could discard cards from their hand to pay the gold cost, empty their hand, and then they could play Ring of the Void and redraw their hand. And so they would constantly have fuel. Still one of the more interesting holdings that they printed, because it was so abused at the time. And it was that way until Gold Edition, and when they basically went to arc-specific designs and tournaments. Miramoto Diani. So Diani, with this ability here to join the Naga for 2 less. So he is liaisoning between Toturi's army and the dragon and the Naga. So basically what's happened here is Togashi Yokuni has put the Dragon Clan army in the hands of Toturi. And he wants the dragon to help Toturi. And so Diani goes out and starts to negotiate with the Naga to try to get everybody up to speed as what's going on. He's not the same man as he was. When they first started this. And as I recall, later on, he actually, if I remember correctly, he actually ends up marrying a Naga. And they have children. We'll get to that story later, but Ninja Kidnapped her. So this was a very interesting control card. 8 gold, and you can bow and lock somebody down that has force less than 5. They stay that way until they pay 10 gold as an open action. So they have to waste gold to get rid of this. When this is destroyed, a personality straightened, and the person who played this card loses 5 honor. So it was an interesting control card. It never got rid of the personality permanently. It was sort of a temporary thing. This became an interesting control card in those decks that you saw. 5 honor was a lot to swallow, but there were certain decks that just didn't care. Speaking of decks that didn't care, the Plains of Otosanushi. Unique region. This region holds 2 dynasty cards instead of 1. You reveal... so what happens here is you reveal... I always keep one on the left side of it and one on the right side of it. You attacked it as one province, but it just held 2 cards. If this province is ever destroyed, you have to lose 10 honor. That's a big hit. Big hit. But I can't tell you how many decks that I've used this card in. Having additional dynasty cards that you could go through in a game was invaluable. And neat if you could make somebody else lose the 10 honor, or if you just didn't care about losing the honor. Purity of the Seven Thunders. So this was another ritual. Bao Shugenja combined Chi of 15, destroy the spell and the primary Shugenja, or the Shugenja that this was attached to, basically. Destroy all Shadowlands cards in play. Any surviving Shugenja may not straighten during your next turn. So basically, I get to blow up all your Shadowlands cards, but the person that casts the spell is dead, and all my Shugenja are resting for the next turn because the Kami has pulled so much energy through them. Return of the Fallen Lord. So this was the Black Scroll that reanimated Baishi Shouju, and one of the Scorpions opened this spell specifically. Bound to destroy the Shugenja, select an honorable or dishonorable dead in any player's discard pile. Bound number of Shugenja equal to the Chi of that card. Bring the personality into play under your control with the Shadowlands trait and the ability Battle Fear 3. Shield Wall. So, being anti-range attack was pretty good. And so this little 0 force, 0 gold cost follower basically shut off ranged attacks targeting any card in this unit, which was just kind of nuts back in the day. But you should see what we did with this card. I'll talk about it when we get to it here shortly. We had another use for this card. Strength of the Earth raises the strength of each province by 1 permanently. This is another card that defensive decks could run, particularly ones that wanted to win by something other than military, since raising your opponent's province strength didn't matter if you weren't attacking them. Alright, the Ancestral Sword of the Hantai. +3/+3 as far as the static bonus was quite high in those days. 9 gold was expensive. Must discard the Imperial Favor to bring the card into play. While this personality has this attached has his force and chi switched. And all things that alter force instead alter their chi, and vice versa. This was definitely a weird card. There was a storyline event that allowed someone to ended up getting this, allowing them to attach this weapon for free, if I recall correctly. We'll see that in a little bit as well. The Arrow Knows the Way. Yeah, now this, actually I have an artist proof of this piece, of this this card, the original printing. I've killed so many personalities with this card in my day. It was awesome. Produce a ranged attack that can hit a personality with attached followers. Yeah. The Emerald Armor. +2 force, +1 chi, 8 gold, unique. Followers have their gold cost reduced by 3 attached on when attached to this personality, and the personality's chi cannot be reduced below 1. This is another Brian Snoddy artwork. These armor pieces were quite fantastic. I liked it with the clan symbol, or in this case, this would be the symbol of the Emperor, the Imperial Legions. The fires that cleanse. 6 gold at its original printing. Battle and destroy the Shugenja, destroy the spell, destroy one opposing personality. So I get to blow up my guy to blow up your guy. There'll be other cards that does this as well, but 6 gold was a lot. As I recall, it eventually dropped to 4, as I recall, at some point. The shouts. So there was a cycle of 3 cards in this set. The first shout, the second shout, and the third shout. They had a focus ability and a battle ability. And for the first shout, you could have up to 10 copies of this card in your deck. It is a design they would eventually revisit many years later, but it was pretty cool. And as I recall, I actually pulled, I think I pulled like 6 or 7 of the first shouts, and as many of the second and third shouts as I needed out of that original box. The Imperial Standard, 5 gold, +1 force, +2 chi, must discard the Imperial Favor. May not be attached to a personality with personal honor less than 3. Gain 4 honor. Followers in this unit are immune to fear. All followers have +2 force bonus while the standard is in play. That's a lot of powerful game text. An item that gains you 4 honor and gives all your followers +2 force. It's a beautiful thing. Another Doug Schuler artwork. I still play that one a lot. The Iron Citadel. So this is the first card that messed with your stronghold. Your stronghold is permanently replaced with the Iron Citadel of Fuling, which has the following stats: unique, province strength 15, gold production 0, starting honor 0, and no special abilities. You may not win through an honor victory. Your clan affiliation and current honor total are unchanged. So this spell was opened by Yoga Jinzo, and basically was the stronghold for him for the remainder of the story arc. The Sawa Woodlands, she can just brought into play, can have one spell attached for free when they come into play from this province. Regions were hard to use, but they had some powerful effects, but they were hard to use. Eventually, that's one reason they got phased out, is because they either had to be broken or they were basically coasters. The Caillou Walls, province strength is increased by 2, counts as a fortification as well as a region. The Ruined Keep of Fuling. Yeah, this was an interesting one. The current strength of this province is doubled, and all of your other province strengths drops to 0. Yikes. That makes it easy to walk over and take a province. Alright, here's the second shout. You only have 3 copies of this one. The first shout gets +1 force. The second shout gets +2 force, +1 chi. And the third shout gives +5 force, +3 chi. And you are required to play the first shout. You can play the second shout only on a personality that's played the first shout, and the third shout can only be played on somebody who's had the second shout played on it. There were some fun designs that they did later with this, but this was sort of their first test run. The Walking Horror Fooling. This was an interesting spell. I don't remember this one getting played a lot. This one was another Matthew D. Wilson artwork. But this was the one that was not opened by a character that we understood about until much later. The Walking Horror Fooling was actually Kitsune Gohi, who was the Fox Clan champion at the time. This scroll was encased in a hidden compartment in the ancestral sword of the Fox Clan, and he accidentally opened it one day, read the scroll, and he became the Walking Horror Fooling. And we don't find this story out until the full story out until Gold Edition, where there's more seeds planted in that story arc. Now this was the black scroll that was played the most in the game, the Wasting Disease. As you can tell by the skin coming off this dude, bow the Shugenja to place a -2 chi wasting token on any personality in play. If placing this token destroyed the personality, you may destroy 1 corruption token on this Shugenja if they have any. This was usually paired with Sawa Osugi, who got to play 1 spell on her for free, or she could only touch 1 spell, but it was free, so you get to play this for free. She couldn't gain the Shadowland trait. She had 4 chi, and if she bowed and killed something, and they never got a token. Still, by far, the black scroll that saw the most competitive play. Now, here is my boy, Tsuruchi, Master Bowman. All followers attached who can produce a ranged attack have their ranged attack increased by 1. All followers who don't have a ranged attack gain bow this card for a range 1 attack. And then he has the ability bow for a range 4 attack. So Tsuruchi is the founder of the minor clan, the Wasp. And this dude is one of my favorite characters in the game. Ron Spencer, this is interesting artwork. No real mempo on this, but you can see how the meticulous detail that he's done with the arrows, the eye, and how he's focusing on his target. The Wasp were amazing. Yari of Air. This negated the effects of ranged attacks or spells that targeted this personality. This was probably the least used of the group, but it was, still potentially free, potentially plus 3 force, plus 3 chi. So it wasn't anything to sneeze at. Yogo Asami. And you'll notice notice this little symbol right here in the corner, Mark Tedden. That's right, Mark Tedden did artwork for Legend of the Five Rings. As well, so many of the old school Magic artists. I loved it. So basically what Azami did is she got to bow her target a player who had to bow a personality they controlled. You got multiple of these out. You eventually bowed out a bunch of people. So, the goal of the Scorpion deck was slow you down and drag your honor through the dirt. That's what they did, particularly back then. Here's our experienced version of Yogo Jinzo. Another vassal for Black Scrolls. Any Black Scroll being attached to Jinzo has his gold cost reduced to 0. He's immune to the effects of corruption tokens. Undead Shugenja, Shadowlands experience, non-human unique. Fear 5, twice per turn. 14 gold was a ton for a 4/4. Yeah, he opened the first Black Scroll, which I think was the Wasting Disease, and then he opened the Iron Citadel. All right. And so that is the end of Forbidden Knowledge. Now, technically, there was a set that came out at the same time as this one, or near the same time, which was Emerald Edition, which was a mostly a reprint of Imperial Edition. There were some differences there, particularly instead of the Ancestral Swords, they got the Ancestral Armors. I'll have to look over that set and see if there's enough difference to warrant its own episode. If not, then the next set that I will talk about is will be the first ever Learn to Play set, the Battle of Beaton's Pass. So until next time, there is no escape from the tiger.